Seiya has spent his entire life searching for one person, his missing sister Patricia. Before every fight, he takes one last look at her old photo, silently promising that he'll find her someday. The memory that haunts him never changes. As kids, they trained together every day, and no matter how hard Seiya tried, Patricia always came out on top. The pendant around Patricia's neck suddenly burst with a mysterious blue light. The moment Seiya reached for it, she panicked, shoved him into a nearby room, and begged him to stay hidden. Seconds later, armed strangers stormed into the house. Powerless to help, Seiya watched through the door as Patricia was dragged away. That was the last time he ever saw her, and he's been searching for her ever since. Years later, Seiya makes a living as an underground street fighter, but unlike everyone else in the ring, he isn't interested in putting on a brutal show. He wins with speed, skill, and defense, refusing to seriously hurt anyone. The crowd hates it, and so does the arena's promoter, Cassios. After watching Seiya embarrass another opponent without throwing a single unnecessary punch, Cassios finally snaps. He jumps into the ring, determined to crush Seiya himself. The fight quickly turns one-sided. Cassios attacks with everything he's got while Seiya refuses to strike back, focusing only on defending himself. But just as Cassios prepares to finish him with one final slam, everything suddenly stops. Seiya is hit by a terrifying vision. He sees Patricia calling out to him, followed by the goddess Athena standing in the middle of a battlefield. Then a brilliant blue energy erupts from Seiya's body, forming enormous glowing wings behind him. The entire arena falls silent. No one understands what they're looking at, not even Seiya. But without realizing it, he's just awakened Cosmo, the legendary power of a Pegasus knight. Certain he's already won, Cassios lowers his guard for a split second. It's a mistake he immediately regrets. Seiya gets back to his feet, unleashes a single devastating punch, and knocks the giant fighter flat on the canvas before disappearing into the locker room. But someone has been waiting for him. A mysterious stranger reveals that he's been watching Seiya for a long time. After witnessing the blue energy, he knows exactly who Seiya is. He urgently warns that Seiya's life is now in danger and tells him to leave immediately with a man named Alman Kido. Seiya dismisses the warning and walks outside, where Alman is already waiting for him. Alman explains that the blue energy Seiya unleashed is called Cosmo, proof that he's destined to become one of the legendary knights sworn to protect the goddess Athena. He also reveals another shocking truth. His former wife, Gurod, has spent years hunting people whose Cosmo has awakened, using their power to build an unstoppable force. And now that Seiya has revealed himself, he'll become her next target. Before Seiya can decide whether to believe any of it, the sound of helicopters fills the sky. Gurod's soldiers suddenly surround the area, forcing Seiya, Alman, and Alman's trusted assistant Mylok to run for their lives. Mylok opens fire, but the soldiers barely slow down. Their advanced armor absorbs every bullet, making them almost impossible to stop. With no other choice, the three jump into Alman's armored vehicle and tear through the city while Gurod's forces pursue them from both the streets and the air. What follows is a high-speed chase packed with explosions, near misses, and impossible escapes. Just when it seems they've finally been cornered, Alman manages to lose the pursuit by driving deep into an underground tunnel. For the first time since the attack began, they finally have a moment to breathe, but Seiya's questions are only beginning. Seiya has 1,000 questions, but Alman knows there isn't time to answer any of them. Gurod's forces could track them down at any moment. With no other choice, Mylok shocks Seiya unconscious, forcing him to come along before it's too late. While unconscious, Seiya relives the day that changed his life forever. As children, he and Patricia were training when he accidentally touched the glowing pendant around her neck. Instantly, it released a burst of mysterious blue energy. That single moment exposed Seiya's hidden Cosmo, allowing Gurod to trace his location. Knowing exactly why they had come, Patricia hid her little brother and willingly gave herself up, sacrificing her own freedom to save his life. When Seiya wakes up, he finds himself aboard Alman's advanced aircraft. Soon, they're taken to a hidden sanctuary where Alman has secretly lived for years, staying one step ahead of Gurod. And that's where Seiya finally hears the truth. Alman reveals that Seiya wasn't born to live an ordinary life. He was destined to become the legendary Pegasus Knight, a warrior chosen to protect the reincarnation of the goddess Athena until her divine powers fully awaken. Naturally, Seiya thinks the entire story sounds unbelievable, but then he meets Sienna. At first, she seems like an ordinary girl. However, Alman reveals that Sienna is actually Athena reborn, and protecting her has always been Seiya's true purpose. It's a revelation that's almost impossible to believe, until Seiya witnesses her powers with his own eyes. The next morning, while they're eating together, Sienna suddenly loses control of her Cosmo. A massive shockwave of energy tears through the room, shaking the entire mansion. Even Almond struggles to calm her down. Watching the terrifying display firsthand, Seiya realizes this is no longer just another crazy story. Everything Almond told him is real. Later, Sienna finally opens up about her past. Years ago, she fell from the sky wearing a mysterious golden armor. Both Almond and Gurod took her in and raised her together. At the time, Gurod was still Almond's wife, but everything changed when she became convinced that once Athena fully awakened, she wouldn't save humanity, she would destroy it. Believing she was protecting the world, Gurod devoted her life to creating weapons powerful enough to eliminate Athena before that day ever came. And until Sienna learns to control her divine power, Seiya is the only one capable of protecting her. Knowing he isn't strong enough yet, Seiya travels with Mylok to a remote mountain to train under the legendary Eagle Knight Marin. She immediately begins pushing him beyond his limits, but Seiya struggles to believe he even has any special power. That changes the moment Marin tells him something he's waited years to hear. If he truly awakens his Cosmo, finding Patricia will become possible. That's all the motivation Seiya needs. From that moment on, he trains harder than ever, determined to master his power and finally bring his sister home. Meanwhile, Gurod is making moves of her own. She approaches Cassios, knowing his hatred for Seiya runs deep. In exchange for revenge, she offers him experimental Cosmo enhancements, transforming him into an even deadlier fighter. Without thinking twice, Cassios accepts the offer. As Seiya grows stronger under Marin's guidance, Gurod's forces begin closing in. They capture one of Almond's trusted allies and brutally torture him for information. He refuses to talk at first, but eventually breaks under the pressure, revealing the location of Almond's hidden sanctuary. Now, Gurod finally knows exactly where to strike, and she's already on her way. Weeks of relentless training finally pay off. Seiya learns to control his Cosmo, and that's when the impossible happens. The pendant around his neck suddenly begins to glow before transforming into an ancient chest. As it bursts open, the legendary Pegasus cloth flies onto Seiya's body, officially making him the long-awaited Pegasus Knight. But his greatest reward comes with a disturbing truth. The moment Seiya bonds with the armor, he's pulled into another vision. He watches the day Patricia was kidnapped all over again. Except this time, he notices something he never saw before. Almond Kido was standing beside Gurod. To Seiya, there's only one explanation. Almond betrayed his family. Consumed by anger, Seiya rushes back to confront him. Mylok tries to explain what really happened, but Seiya refuses to listen. Before the argument turns into something worse, Sienna takes him away and decides it's finally time to tell him the whole truth. Years earlier, when Sienna was still a little girl, she accidentally lost control of her divine power and destroyed Gurod's arms. Almond managed to save her life using the Cosmo stored inside Sienna's sacred armor, but the damage was permanent. From that day forward, Gurod could only survive by absorbing Cosmo from other warriors. Desperate to stay alive, she spent years hunting powerful fighters across the world and draining their energy. Then, Sienna reveals the secret Seiya has wanted to know his entire life. The mysterious energy that burst from Patricia's pendant all those years ago was never Patricia's power. It was Seiya's Cosmo awakening for the very first time. That surge allowed Gurod to track him down. Knowing exactly why they had come, Patricia hid Seiya before Gurod arrived. Mistaking Patricia for the true warrior, Gurod took her instead. She later realized Patricia possessed no Cosmo and eventually let her go. But Patricia understood that Gurod would keep searching for Seiya, so she chose to stay away to protect her little brother, which means Patricia could still be alive. Sienna also explains why Almond and Gurod ended up on opposite sides. Gurod truly believes Athena will destroy humanity once her full power awakens. Almond, however, never stopped believing Sienna would choose compassion over destruction. That's why he sacrificed everything to keep her safe. Before Seiya has time to process the truth, Sienna spots something terrifying in the distance. Gurod's massive aircraft is heading straight for Almond's sanctuary. Realizing they're already under attack, the two race back as fast as they can. Meanwhile, Almond and Mylok seal every entrance to the estate, hoping to hold Gurod's forces back. It doesn't work. Enhanced soldiers smash through the defenses, turning the mansion into a full-scale battlefield. As explosions erupt around them, Gurod finally comes face to face with Almond. She demands to know where Sienna is, but even now Almond refuses to give up on her. He begs Gurod to trust Sienna, insisting that Athena isn't humanity's enemy. Gurod refuses to believe a single word. At that exact moment, Seiya and Sienna arrive, and the battle instantly spirals out of control. Gurod's soldiers swarm the estate while Cassios, now empowered with experimental Cosmo charges straight at Seiya. Although Seiya has completed his training, he's still struggling to fully synchronize with the Pegasus cloth. Cassios takes full advantage, brutally overpowering him and leaving the young knight helpless. Watching everything fall apart, Alman realizes there's only one option left. He activates the mansion's self-destruct system. Seconds later, the entire estate erupts in a massive explosion. Alman sacrifices himself in a desperate attempt to stop Gurod, but it isn't enough. She escapes the blast alive, and in the chaos, her soldiers capture the unconscious Sienna. Badly injured and unable to move, Seiya can only watch as she's taken away. For the second time in his life, he fails to save someone he cares about. Back at her hidden laboratory, Gurod prepares to drain Sienna's divine Cosmo before she can fully awaken as Athena. Even she admits she never wanted it to come to this. But if sacrificing one girl is the only way to save humanity, she's willing to make that choice. Meanwhile, Mylock finds the badly injured Seiya and delivers the worst possible news. Gurod has taken Sienna, and if they don't reach her soon, she'll be dead. Crushed by another failure, Seiya contacts Marin and admits he couldn't protect Athena, but Marin refuses to let him give up. She reminds him that a true knight fights for others, not for himself. If Seiya stops dwelling on his failure and focuses only on saving Sienna, his Cosmo will answer him. Those words change everything. Determined to finish what he started, Seiya and Mylock fly toward Gurod's fortress aboard Mylock's aircraft. Enemy soldiers immediately attack, but this time Seiya doesn't panic. Instead, he clears his mind and focuses entirely on Sienna. Instantly, the pendant around his neck begins glowing once again. The legendary Pegasus cloth returns, and for the first time, Seiya synchronizes with it perfectly. Now fighting at his full potential, Seiya tears through Gurod's soldiers like they're nothing. Then Cassios steps in for one last rematch, convinced he'll finish what he started. He doesn't even stand a chance. With a single perfectly timed strike, Seiya knocks Cassios out cold. The same fighter Cassios nearly killed earlier has now surpassed him completely. But while Seiya is winning outside, Sienna is running out of time. Inside the laboratory, Gurod has already begun draining Sienna's Cosmo to prevent her from fully becoming Athena. As Sienna screams in agony, Gurod realizes she's gone too far and orders the procedure to stop. Unfortunately, it's already too late. Her loyal commander, Nero, refuses to obey. Convinced Athena will wipe out humanity, he insists the process must continue no matter the cost. When Gurod orders her own soldiers to stop him, Nero finally reveals who he really is. Before everyone's eyes, he awakens the legendary Phoenix Cloth. Within seconds, he wipes out Gurod's remaining forces and turns against everyone. It becomes clear that Nero never cared about saving humanity. He only wanted Athena's power for himself. Just then, Seiya finally reaches the laboratory. The Pegasus Knight and the Phoenix Knight collide in a battle powerful enough to shake the entire fortress. Every punch releases massive waves of Cosmo energy, ripping through the surrounding structures as the fight spirals out of control. Meanwhile, Gurod desperately shuts down every machine connected to Sienna, but nothing happens. Athena has already begun to awaken. An overwhelming surge of divine Cosmo erupts from Sienna, consuming the entire laboratory. The ground trembles, buildings collapse, and everything around her begins falling apart. Seeing Athena's true power only strengthens Nero's belief that she must die. He launches one final attack, but the instant he enters her Cosmo field, his Phoenix Cloth shatters, sending him crashing across the battlefield. The real danger, however, isn't Nero anymore. It's Sienna herself. Unable to control Athena's overwhelming power, Sienna begs Seiya to kill her before she destroys the entire world. The uncontrollable waves of Cosmo are already reducing everything around them to rubble. Seiya refuses. Ignoring the unbearable pain, he walks straight toward her. Every step forward causes Athena's energy to tear apart the Pegasus cloth, ripping pieces of armor from his body. But Seiya never stops moving. Instead of fighting Sienna, he reminds her that destiny doesn't decide who she becomes. She does. Those words finally break through. Sienna regains control of herself, the raging Cosmo storm disappears, and the destruction comes to an immediate end. Humanity is saved, not through violence, but through trust. After the battle, the wounded Gurod admits she was wrong. She apologizes for everything she's done, and Sienna forgives her without hesitation. Using Athena's power, she restores Gurod's damaged arms, finally ending the conflict that had divided them for years. As peace returns, Nero disappears into the shadows, while Mylock reunites with Seiya and Sienna. Sometime later, Seiya and Sienna look toward the future. Sienna warns that Athena's awakening won't stay a secret for long. The ancient gods will soon soon return, and when they do, humanity will need more than just one knight. They'll have to find the remaining knights of the Zodiac, and somewhere out there, Seiya still believes his sister Patricia is waiting to be found.